Well, something we'd like to talk about today is stacks and really stack temperature, but something pretty simple. But man, the stack, it actually does what?
Gets rid of all the exhaust gases.
All the exhaust gases from the actual burner.
From the combustion. Yep.
Now I notice on some boilers that they're in the back of the boiler and the front of the boiler.
Some in the front, some in the back. So, you know, every pass, you know, this is 1 pass, 2 pass, 3 pass, 4 pass. So if the stack is in the front of the boiler, it's either 2 or 4 pass. If it's in the back of the boiler, it's always a 3 pass.
Okay. Now the stack temperature, I think, is something that is very critical that people should be watching for. So maybe let's talk about that.
Yeah, it's extremely critical. It's going to tell you right off the bat, if you watch it, monitor it every day, it's going to tell you where you have a problem or not. That is the quickest way and the most efficient way to track what's going on with the boiler. There's 3 ways to increase your stack temperature. Too much air. If your O2s are real high, that means you've got way too much air volume going through, so you're taking unburnt gases and just the velocity, you're just shoving them right out the stack.
Okay.
That's going to jack your stack temperature up. The other thing that will do that is lack of heat transfer. 2 things that cause that. One, if you soot the boiler up, you soot those tubes up because typically that's oil firing. If you soot the boiler up gas firing, you've really got a bad combustion.
Right.
But it can happen. So that creates insulation on the fire side of the boiler, so you can't get heat transfer. Your stack temperature goes up. Same thing on the water side. If you start to scale it up, it does the same thing. Lack of heat transfer, your stack temperature starts going up. And again, if you monitor that, write that down every day in your boiler log, then you know before you ever have a problem, you know, hey, my stack temperature's been running 430, 435. Now we're at 450. There's a problem. We need to take a look and see what's going on. If it's not on the combustion side, I'm scaling the boiler up. I've got to get that fixed before I do damage to the boiler.
Now, just so that we clarify, you said fire side. This is a fire tube boiler. So that means that the water is on the outside of the tubes.
Yep.
And so when you have the scale from the water, obviously that's going to be on the outside, creates that insulation.
Yep. And if it's a water tube boiler, just the opposite. The water's inside the tubes, fire's the outside of the tubes, but you have the same issue. It's an insulating component that you can't have on the tubes. You got to keep that off of there.
What happens with the stack when the temperature's low? What's actually going on?
That's the other problem we have to watch with these XID tubes. These XID tubes have got rifling inside the tube, and it gets a lot better heat transfer. We have to watch when we put an economizer on there. If we oversize the economizer, we'll drop the stack temperature below the dew point, which causes it to start to condense. Then we've got water coming down through there. If it's not all stainless steel, this one is. But if it's not, everything starts to rust out. You create all kinds of problems. I mean, you drive by a facility and you see it looks like steam coming out of the stack. That's not steam. That's the combustion gases condensing as they come out, which causes rain to come down and causes all kinds of corrosion problems.
Corrosion issues all inside.
Everywhere.
Now, I noticed that we have a lot of stuff that's coming out of this stack, and maybe, you know, talk a little bit about what can you measure back here? Yeah,
what we're doing a couple of things. One, you've got a gauge, temperature gauge, so that's what they'll check every day. If they don't have an EGA, exhaust gas analyzer, where they're measuring it digitally, then they'll measure it, just check it here every day, and they'll write that down, what's going on. We also have a temperature probe, so we're actually checking the temperature, running that back over here, and then we have an EGA on here. So here's a probe. We're monitoring O2, CO, CO2, NOx. We're monitoring everything on this particular unit, and so then all of that comes through the EGA, so we can look there real quick and see exactly what the stack temperature is.
What about from a damper standpoint? Back here on the stack, anything?
Yeah, we have a damper here with a control on there for maintaining the same back pressure on the boiler all the time, and that's in the last 5 years we've become a lot more knowledgeable of what that needs to be, and what we're looking for 0 pressure at the outlet. Okay. That's what we're looking for. That's what the burners are designed for, is zero outlet pressure. You know, plus or minus 1/10 of an inch of pressure, which is nothing. So that's what we're looking for. And the only way, well, the best way to get that is to put a modulating damper on there. Then we can control that. That is set up when we do the initial combustion commissioning. We'll set that damper up along with the servos on the gas and the air pushing in the boiler to maintain that zero that we're looking for coming out of that boiler.
Sounds like maybe another boiling point that we'll get
Could be.
a little bit deeper, maybe
a little
with
bit
that,
deeper
or maybe
into
even
it.
let Jude do it.
There
with,
you go.
Weekly boiler tips.
There you go.
All right, man. Appreciate it. Anything else before we go?
That's it. We're
All
done.
right. Well, we appreciate you hanging out with us, and we'll see you next time on the Boiling Point. Well, stacks are something that's very, very important, and appreciate Steven bringing some information to us. You know, this is a stack here. Obviously, on every boiler, there is a stack. And as Steven said, it's something that you can be watching every day and to see just what's going on with the boiler. So make sure you check that. Also, if you want to learn a little more about stacks, Boiler University, you can either come here or you can check out and learn a little bit on the online class that we have. Make sure you go out there and check that one out. And like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. If you don't mind, subscribe to the YouTube channel. And as always, we would appreciate a share and check out all the other boiling points, the weekly boiler tips, and the steam cultures that's out there. Over 500 videos now, so a lot of information. We appreciate you, and we'll see you next time on the Boiling Point.